that changes completely. You want the trials. You are quite happy not to sleep when you're tired. You are quite happy to go thirsty when you are thirsty. You're quite happy to go hungry when you're hungry. You're quite happy to suffer abuse for your faith. In fact, you're not only happy to do it, you want to do it. You want it. You want the trials. Because you've been transformed, you have matured, you are in a completely different place spiritually. Now this is where the saints were. This is where they were. You know, Padre Pio lived on the Eucharist for periods of time. I know for one time 40 days on the Eucharist. I know of that there are other saints who simply did not care about bodily sufferings. St. Francis of Assisi walked around in all kinds of weather, wearing nothing but a beggar's garment, in freezing winter in Italy. And he went hungry, he was God's beggar. He didn't care for food, he just wanted crumbs to satisfy what the small desires of the flesh. But for him, God was all in all. He was consumed with love for God. And that's the important thing, you see. You're not just denying yourself here. You are beside yourself with love for God. You are consumed with love for God. You are aching with love for God. Your whole body and soul want nothing more than to be eternally united with God. And there comes a point, and it's called the death of, not the death of love, but the loving death. John of the Cross talks about it, where he says a person is so beside themselves with love for God, so consumed with love for God, that they make an act of love. And that act of love separates the soul from the body, and they die, they go to heaven. Because they made an act of love. And that's how some of the saints died. They made an act of love. They were so consumed with love for God that they made an act of love, and the impulse was so powerful that they were consumed into heavenly glory. Extraordinary. I haven't finished, ladies and gentlemen. I want you now to turn to the Gospel of Luke. Because I'm going to press this in, I'm going to press this message in, because I should think most of you, for most of your lives, have been thinking purgatory. And so we're coming at Luke chapter 10. We're coming against a lifetime of what is essentially bad teaching. Okay, it's not your fault. This is what we've been taught. Okay, but this is not what the church teaches. The church actually teaches what I'm teaching you. This is what the church is about. If you ever read your catechism, it's full of this stuff. It's full of it. It's a really positive message. Now, this is Acts chapter 10. Sorry, Luke 10, verse 17. The 72 returned rejoicing after Jesus had sent them on a mission, and they said, Lord, even the demons are subjected to us because of your name. Now remember what we said in this Covenant series about the name, how it's your identity and your character and who you are. Well, Jesus gave the disciples his name and said, use my name, it will defeat the demons. So the demons are being defeated by the power of Jesus. Jesus said, I have observed Satan fall like lightning from the sky. Now that was Jesus referring to the fall of the angels. And then he says, behold, I have given you the power to tread upon serpents and scorpions, obviously in a demonic sense, and upon the full force of the enemy. Jesus has given us the power to tread upon the full force of the enemy. And nothing will harm you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice because the spirits are subject to you. So do not rejoice because of the power of God in operation in you. But rejoice because your name is written in heaven. Your name is written in heaven. That's where you belong. Rejoice over that. Now why Christ is saying that is because at one point there was an angel called Lucifer, which means bearer of light, made in beauty, and his name was written in heaven, but he fell because he rejected God's plan. And so his name is no longer Lucifer, but Satan, the accuser. His name changed because his mission changed. Now you have been given a name. You were baptized in that name, and that name was written in heaven. So you're beginning down here, and you're being lifted up there. You're going the opposite way. See, he started up there and he fell. You're going from here and up. Yes? You have an opposite path to walk on. So you rejoice, not because you perform miracles, not because you heal the sick, not because you cast out demons, not because you convert millions. You rejoice because on the day when you die, you're going to heaven. That's why we rejoice. Jesus, I trust. I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. You're the one who's going to make me holy. You're the one who's going to get me there. Not me. I'm not going to do it. It's going to be in the power of the Holy Spirit. I'm going to take a reading from the Catechism to finish off. I obviously can't say please turn to because you haven't got the Catechism with you, which is fine, I didn't tell you to bring them. But I wanted to read from the Catechism. Let's see, I've written 2550 down. Here we go. This is, the paragraph is entitled, I want to see God. I want to see God. Okay. Desire for true happiness frees man from his immoderate attachment to the goods of this world. You see, part of your suffering, you know we were talking about suffering earlier? Part of our suffering is because of our attachment to the things of this world. And it's God is setting us free from that attachment so that we can be attached to Him and Him alone. It doesn't mean we won't have the goods. It just means we won't place a high thing. We won't. Oh, okay, so I've got a guitar. Here, it's yours. We can give it away as easily as we can keep it. It's not an issue. To help people, to help us.
Yeah, but what about attachments to people?
Attachments to people. A similar scenario, but once again, you've got to bear in mind, attachments to people is where God is taking all attachments is where God is taking self-love and He's purifying it into a love for Him. And I'll talk about this in the next session. Forgiveness and healing. Because our love is begins off inherently selfish, which is why we want the pleasures and the goods and the nice things. But it actually becomes self-giving, and that's where God has to purify it and transform it. Yes? Now, He frees us from our immoderate attachment to the goods of this world, so He can find His fulfillment. You can find your fulfillment in the vision and the beatitude of God. On this path of perfection, the Spirit and the bride call whoever hears them to perfect communion with God. Perfect communion with God. The Spirit and the bride say, come. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Perfect communion with God. There will true glory be, where no one will be praised by mistake or flattery. True honour will not be refused to the worthy, nor granted to the unworthy. Likewise, no one unworthy will pretend to be worthy, where only those who are worthy will be admitted. There true peace will reign, where no one will experience opposition either from self or others. God himself will be virtue's reward. He has promised to give himself as the best and greatest reward that could exist. I shall be their God, they shall be my people. I shall be their God, they will be my people. We will have God, God will have us. And we have got the first fruits of the Spirit now as a guarantee of the greater blessings to come. It's a guarantee of the greater blessings to come. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.